In his best-selling book, Leaders Eat Last, Simon Sinek, former advertising man, writer, and inspirational speaker, tackles the troublesome and very real issue of making two generations get along. Hi, I'm Paul Smith, author of the books Lead with a Story and the 10 Stories Great Leaders Tell. And those two generations Sinek writes about are modern managers, who tend to be in the boomer category. They bring experience and long-honed expertise to the table. And millennials, generally anyone born between 1981 and 1996. Now, these young people are known to bring energy and new ideas into organizations. And that's why it's important for those two generations to find a way to get along. Now, it may not always seem easy, but these tips by Sinek will prove handy. Managers today need to adjust their styles and engage with the company's next generation on their unique wavelength. This is done by getting into the millennial mind, accepting that they see the world differently. And most importantly, they need to remember that millennials are not just settlers who just do a job the way it was always done. Choose a profession because their parents and their grandparents did it for years. Millennials look for satisfaction and meaning from their work, which is why they need the answer to their question about the company's why. What is its larger cause beyond revenues and balance sheets? Now, Sinek says that millennials believe that that cause must extend for a larger good, beyond making money. They need to believe that the wider purpose of the company is to contribute something meaningful to the world. Managers must communicate that why to them. For example, a manager at a company manufacturing nuts and bolts for industry must let their millennial colleagues know that they aim to make the world's best, most precision-engineered nuts and bolts, which can keep buildings standing in cyclones and ships together in a storm, or to ensure that the machines in a hospital emergency ward works efficiently. Now, a millennial will get that idea. It builds both their self-esteem and adds to their sense of belongingness in the workplace. Another plus, millennials tend to keep an eye out on the message being sent out by the company. If it's moving away from the why, they won't hold back calling it out because they really care. Yes, modern businesses can't do without emails and mobile phones and even a social media presence. Take them away and never mind millennials, whole industries would struggle. But making a digital downtime real in the workplace is an important step towards building millennial involvement in a company. All right, here's why. More than any other generation, millennials are connected to their digital devices. They need them to get through the day. They've got their smartwatch and mobile phone and tablet and laptop and digital assistants like Siri or Alexa who provide assistance and information. And those are all great, but they won't help build life skills like interpersonal communication and team building millennials need to grow in any workplace. Right? Disconnecting millennials from devices for small periods of time will help managers learn more about their millennials and help the millennials learn more about their managers. All right, let's start with meetings. Even if on Zoom and waiting for the online session to start as people drift into the chat room, have everyone set their cell phones aside. Like, literally, physically move them somewhere else so that there's a distance between the cell phones and the people to prevent the heads-down texting. Now, think about a chat room like a conference room with the cell phones checked in at the door. Another excellent exercise recommended by Sinek is to have notes or minutes taken down by hand. Now, ideally by a millennial and a senior for backup. Now, sure, everyone gets more data down onto a computer, but when you take notes by hand, the ear-head-hand coordination means that information will be sifted through carefully to highlight what's most important. It's a skill that triggers critical thinking and decision-making. Now, millennials, remember, love self-examination and variety and difference. Digital downtime will be a useful, rewarding difference for everyone, not just the millennials. Right, every manager surely noticed it. Millennials are very good at presenting themselves to the world. They've grown up with social media, which can be both communication and conversation, but also includes presentation. In among all those Instagram photos and videos and Facebook post is a chance to build, very methodically, a personal brand about oneself. Now, millennials understood branding even before they got their business degrees. They're excellent at making a memorable first impression, exuding confidence and assurance. Right? Managers and companies can benefit from these skills, and they need to. All right, here are a couple of ways to do it. Try putting them on the front lines of networking or sales and see what happens. For instance, let a millennial make the first impression with a client or a possible partner, and then their older colleague can step in and establish the more long-term relationship with them. Send a millennial out to speak for the firm. Now, sure, it's the deep end of the pool, and there's a chance they might sink, but reassure them that you'll save them if they look like they're drowning. But give them the opportunity. Theirs is a generation that loves their hand at a challenge, to think on their feet, to take snap decisions. And by showing faith in their ability to communicate, organizations will keep them engaged and at their best. Millennials really want feedback, but what they're mostly looking for is the positive feedback for affirmation and validation. So, how should their boss give them the critical feedback and call out the mistakes? To be able to give complete feedback to millennials, managers need to look at it in two parts: what they're telling the millennials and how they're saying it. Now let's start with the what. Managers must confirm to millennials that the feedback exercise is going to be a two-way street. The boss isn't the only one giving the feedback about their performance. The millennials will also be expected to give frank feedback to their managers. Establish that at the start so that the meetings don't only look like one-way fault-finding traffic from the manager to their juniors. Now, that will confirm to the millennials that the exercise is meant to be open and constructive, not personal or a judgment of their character, just a professional assessment of how everyone in the company is doing in their job. Now, it will also make the millennials feel trusted and included in the organization. Now let's move on to the how of the feedback exercise. One approach is a 360-degree review system, such as the one formulated by Synnex Company. Once every year, each employee of the team is asked to list their top 3 strengths and weaknesses. Now, the consolidated document is available to everyone, and then each person's assessment is talked through by the others. Now, this doesn't replace the formal annual appraisal. Synnex just calls it a growth tool. It gives the millennials a chance to speak and to be heard, and it gives managers a chance to share experience and perspective. Simply put, the best feedback, regardless of whether positive or negative, must always have the managers and millennials move a few steps ahead together. So, to answer the question, can managers and millennials get along? The long and short answers are yes. Just take a few leaves from Synnex book.